Live.
Yay.
Hi guys,
Hi.
it's Mary the Medium. Tonight you're watching Mary, What Do You See? We have a very special guest on. It's Barbara, the Tarot Mistress. Everybody say hello to Barbara.
Hello,
And
Barbara.
we have
Hello.
Jason, their producer, and Tenacious B. Brooke is in the, oh my God, hang on, I gotta, okay, there
Mute
we
your
go.
phone.
Yeah, I muted my phone. I'm sorry about that. And we have Brooke in the chat room. So tonight, guys, this show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm a psychic medium, retrocognizant, and Barbara is also a psychic medium astrologer. Jason, who the producer is also very, very gifted. Okay, a psychic empath, as well as Brooke. So what you see here, it is for entertainment purposes only. And if you have a problem with it, take it up with spirit. So with that,
Hey,
I'm going
Joyce.
to pass the show over to Jason.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us, Barbara.
So excited.
Let me put this up. Just bear with me. Okay. So tonight, we just wanted to. This is the part one in a series, touching on gifts and just the different types of gifts out here. And then here's your website, just to kind of for people if they want to check out all your work. The Tarot Mistress. And why don't you just tell a little bit about, if you want to, like, how you came into this, or just like, like what brought you to.
Okay. How many hours do we have? Okay. All right. So again,
Part one. Yeah.
I'm a multi-gifted person, I guess. I also, it's important to know that I'm a Gemini. So Geminis are forever curious.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we're forever curious. So if somebody mentions a new thing, I gotta know. I gotta know about it. Okay, so anyway, so I am a psychic medium. Okay, I'm also a tarot reader for decades. I started when I was a teenager, and we'll talk about that. Also, recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, I've also become an astrologer, which is absolutely fascinating. And as I said, I'm a metaphysical enthusiast. So you name it, I probably studied it. Okay, I've studied palmistry, numerology, a lot of things. But you know what? I can't be good at everything. So, like some things sort of, I just sort of glossed over and stuck with the ones that I'm really passionate about. So, all right. So let's, it's always.
Well, seeing is the unique thing is, as Mary said, we don't know. I know a little about astrology, but you are way more knowledgeable as far as that goes. So I'm gonna. I think bear with me here.
Thrilled to hear you talk.
Okay.
Well, did you want to start? Put on Princess Diana, because I really.
Okay. Sure.
Princess Diana on first, okay, and then let me finish. I'll finish just telling you how I got here, okay, but leave that up there for now. So, so I grew up in as I was telling you, a scary old house in Brooklyn, and it really was scary. 3 floors creaking. I mean, there was stuff going on, a lot, all over the place.
Wow.
All right. I'd wake up and there'd be people at the foot of my bed, and I'd be crying. My mother said, "Oh, don't worry, you had a dream." I'm like, "I don't think so." And so anyway, it wasn't a dream. But there was a man who lived downstairs, and he was a hypnotist. Okay, so that fascinated me. And by the way, he couldn't hypnotize me because I was a Gemini and I wouldn't sit still long enough for him to hypnotize.
Right.
But
I haven't.
anyway, he knew that I was really into all these metaphysical things, so he gave me a deck of tarot cards. Okay, I was about 14 years old, and he gave me a deck of tarot cards, and I was like, "Wow, like this is interesting." Okay. I'm also an artist. My other life, I was a graphic designer and a salesperson.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm very visual. All right, so these cards were just amazing to me, and they just seem so mystical, and I wanted to know everything about them. By the way, I have a Scorpio moon. Okay, I should mention that. Okay, which is
I love it.
requisite for a psychic. So anyway, so I started studying these things. I started reading my friends, everybody that I could read, and I really liked it. Okay, but then when I got a little older, it actually started to scare me because I was starting to read my friends, and it was actually coming true. And then I was like, oh, I don't want this responsibility. It really sort of scared me. Okay. So I kept them with me, like I kept using them, but like really only for myself. All right.
So kind of just to guide, just to guide you. You mean like
yeah,
for like?
just as a guide. Okay. So
Mhm.
basically my tarot cards are my friends. Okay. They're my
Mhm.
friends. So if I have a question about something, you know how you ask your friends, you ask three of your friends and they all have a different thing. And then you're like, no, I don't know what to do. So I use my tarot cards, and they've got me through some extremely difficult times. And because I'll be like, I say, well, give me some insights. What do I need to know about this situation? And it's amazing. Some of the things that come up are not even things that I thought I would think about. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. And then sometimes I don't like what they say. And so I'll be like, okay, I'm going to shuffle again. Okay, well, they come out the same way.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you
I'm like, or similar cards that mean the same thing. So anyway, so fast forward, I had a career for like many years. Okay. And so I sort of put it on the back burner. Okay. And then I picked it up again about 15, 20 years ago. I started picking it up and I started working with it. And so and I
was
was,
there any? Oh, sorry, didn't
no,
mean
go
to cut
ahead.
you off.
No.
Was there something that were you drawn back at for anything in particular, or was did? Okay.
Yeah, there was a specific, as there
Mhm.
usually is, there was a
Mhm.
specific event. Okay. So what happened was there was this restaurant close to my house, and they had a psychic night. It was every Tuesday, and they would have psychic readers come in, and you'd have a psychic dinner. So I went to I went there, and I was read by this very nice lady. And it was it was good. It was good. And there was two readers there. And so my husband at the time said, you should give the woman your card because, you could do this. And I said, oh, I don't know if I could do this because, I'm scared. I never did this for public before. So
Mhm.
anyway, so I did that. I went in, long story. I went in, gave the lady my card. And 2 weeks later, the lady calls me back. She said, listen, this woman, one of our readers, had a massive heart attack and she's in the hospital. Can you come and can you read? So I was like, okay, oh, sure. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But anyway, so I went to the restaurant and it went well and I liked it.
Good.
Unfortunately, the woman did pass away. Okay. And she was an amazing woman. And I had started to study with her before before she had passed away. So I sort of feel like she chose me. And so I sat in her chair and I read people for about 10 years till we finally, the restaurant was doing it right before COVID. So for 10 years, I was reading tarot cards in this restaurant. And
Wow.
doing readings and parties and that kind of thing. So again, I'm going back to the universe. I'm going back to the universe telling me to give the lady my card. Like it's funny, like when you go back and you say, what if I didn't go to the restaurant that day? What if I didn't give her my card? What if? But it doesn't matter because that's how I got there. Okay. So
Well, it was meant to be. It was
yeah,
like she
so
passed. It's like she passed the torch on to you, or chose you, and then.
I did feel that way. And I sat right in her seat and I felt very strong that she was helping me.
Mhm.
She was helping me. So to connect with people. So I liked it. So that went on for 15 years. 15 years.
Mhm.
10 years, 15, I don't know. All the years run together, Mary. You know how that goes, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So anyway, so then what happened is I still was doing other restaurants because we did psychic
It was
dinners,
a circuit kind
restaurants.
of thing.
Oh, and
Yeah.
fairs, psychic fairs,
Mhm.
you know, like on Sundays you go sit there. So
Yeah.
I was doing all of that, but then I sort of got tired. I got tired and burned out. I was getting a little tired and burned out after like 50 plus years of reading tarot cards.
Yeah.
So I decided that I wanted to try something else. And one of the things about reading tarot that's a little difficult is you could say to somebody, okay, I see this wonderful man coming into your life, or woman or whatever. I see this wonderful relationship. The next question is, oh yeah, when? When and where am I meeting them? That's the next
Right.
question. Well, especially the when part. When is difficult when you have tarot cards. Like I could say, well, I see spring, but they don't have, like I said, they don't have calendars up there. They don't wear watches. They don't have calendars.
Right.
So, and I'm clairsentient, so it's like I can't feel the exact date. So,
Mhm.
so then I said, well, wait a second, like astrology, that's sort of cool. Predictive astrology. With predictive astrology, you can predict things with predictive astrology, with astrology. Also, the cards, the tarot cards themselves, they're attached to planets. Okay, so I wanted to expand, what my tarot knowledge, and the best thing to do is to tack on some astrology with that. Okay, so
Wow.
yes, that's what I've done. So that's how I got into doing astrology. So now, and then a couple times I almost quit, I have to say, because it's very hard. My
Mhm.
poor little brain was fried many times.
Well,
And
probably with all the different
oh,
having to
God.
get on that level with all those different people and their energy. It's
Well,
like,
it's
did
really
you,
the planets, and it's like, I guess it's like if you want to learn a dance step, okay, like you learn one step, you're like, hey, I could do that. Then you put two
Mhm.
steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, and then once you get like 6 or 7 steps, you're like totally confused. So that's sort of what astrology is about. All right. So, but now I really like it. And now I'm wondering, well, maybe I want to spend more time as an astrologer. So again, I'm going to go with the flow and let the universe take care of it and see
Well,
where it
it
goes.
sounds like every time you approached it, you had like a coming at it at kind of like at a different awareness level or different like a reason. So kind of like it's like even though it's astrology, you came with a whole nother like more just I don't know, maybe a different reason or like it.
Well, and there was another catalyst, which is pretty important. So I went on a spiritual retreat to Egypt. Ever since I was
Oh,
a kid, I always wanted to go to Egypt. So there was went on a spiritual trip to Egypt, and it was amazing. And the group that I went with there was about 12 of us, and each one was a more amazing, gifted person than the next one. And
Wow.
Sheila Height. She's a master tarot reader, astrologer, and all around magical being. She will tell you. And she was our fearless leader, and everyone was doing astrology, and she was a teacher. So I decided, okay, she's here, I'm here. You know how they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, the teacher appeared, okay, and yeah. So then I started doing that. So and now
Wow.
I just find it now I'm extremely fascinated, okay, and so I wanted to. I don't know how much anybody knows about astrology, and again, I've only been doing it for like 2 or 3 years, so I'm not an expert by any means, but
More than us.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
know more than
So,
us. I'm
so I
fascinated
thought
by it.
I thought what I would like to do is just talk a little bit about like sort of the basics of astrology.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And all right, so I want to start with the first basic thing is your natal chart. Okay. what was, where were the planets at the time you were born, on the day you were born, where were the planets and what were they doing? Okay. And this is very important, what planet was rising on the horizon, on the eastern horizon at the time you were born? And that's really important because that is called your rising sign. And your rising sign it almost sets the stage for the rest of the natal chart. So if somebody is going to want to get their natal chart done, and I know Jason has a place you can go and get a free chart, just make sure that you know what time you were born. And
Okay.
it shouldn't be like, well, my mother said it was around 12:30, or it really,
The
because
exact minute.
it can
And
change.
and the location, right? Like the
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So you need to know the location that you were born, the time you were born, and obviously the day you were born. Okay. And then on top of that, there's like a whole bunch of, well, do you want to look at whole signs or do you want to look at placidius, and that's a whole another story, but just go with whatever they give you, just go with
Okay.
the reset. Okay. So, all right. So let's put Princess Diana back up again.
Okay.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about her chart. Okay. So poor Princess Diana, like when I look at her chart and I see what's going on, is she, her marriage, okay, and her being part of the royal family, like that was just doomed from that was sort of
Right.
doomed from the beginning. Okay. So let's look at the most important things that you want to, when you're looking at a natal chart, the first few things you want to look at. Okay.
Okay.
That is, the first thing is the sun. Okay. So her sun, you could see there, her sun is in Cancer. Her sun is in Cancer. So what is Cancer? Cancer is the mother, the home. I mean, she was such a Cancer, the nurturer. I mean, it's really who she was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the seventh house. So the seventh house is the house of marriage and intimate partnerships. So one of the most important things for Princess Diana was to have a family. That's what she wanted. And eventually, the whole world became her family. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's the first thing to look at. So everybody's mother, all right, that's the first thing. So, and back to the natal chart, they call this the natal promise. Okay. Some people call it the natal promise. So in other words, when you're born, you have some karma, there's some
Mm-hmm.
karma involved in your natal chart. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Like with me, I do have Neptune in my chart, so it was destined that I would study astrology. I realize that now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it when it happens, it may not. It didn't happen for a while. So let's get back to Princess Diana. So that's the first thing we see. So we see her sun. So that her sun is the personality. She came into a room and she lit it up. She lit up the room wherever she went. She was like a bright light, which makes sense. Her sun in the seventh house. Okay. And then we're going to look at her moon. Okay. So the moon is your subconscious self. It's what's happening inside. It's your deeper self. Okay. And it's your emotions. All right. So her moon is in let me see here. I think it's in the second house, right? Yes. So her moon is in the second house. So that's the house of money and responsibility. And she was like born into this whole life. It's like who she was supposed to be. But her moon was in Aquarius. Okay. So Aquarius is rebellion, So
Okay.
you take she was deeply emotional and she was put into this situation. So here's a deeply emotional mom, who doesn't really believe in, she doesn't, not that she doesn't believe in tradition, but it's not who she was. It wasn't who she was.
So it was kind of like her public persona was forced upon her.
Yeah, like, but it wasn't who she
It
was.
wasn't, yeah, right.
And she rebelled. I was reading, like she insisted, she broke with tradition. She insisted that she drive her kids to school. And she did, she didn't want to go with tradition. All right.
Right.
So,
And there's so much for being a princess.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's
that's
like
all
that.
about
So here you
Brittany.
have
Yeah.
stodgy old Charles and, like the
Ugh.
queen and,
Ugh.
everybody. And she couldn't, and emotionally, she couldn't deal with it. And she was in, and then let me talk about her rising sign. And then we got to go to her Venus. Okay. Because
Okay.
that's her love life. And, that's important. But, okay. So, on the left hand side of the chart there, left hand side middle, you're going to see the little arrow thing, the little red arrow thing on the side. That's the Sagittarius. Do you see what I'm talking about? In between the 12th house and the first house, it goes
Oh,
cuts
yeah.
perpendicular, and there's an arrow there. Little that's
Yeah.
the Sagittarius. Okay, so Sagittarius, wow, they don't like to be, they're, they're the hunters. They don't like to be, to be tied down. So she was a Sagittarius rising sign. So the rising sign is like how people see you. So people responded to Princess Diana because she wasn't like those stodgy old, she wasn't like the
Yeah.
stodgy old, Prince Charles and the king and the queen, everything. No, she was
Fit the
a real
stereotype.
person. And
Yeah.
she had her kids and she loved her kids and she went and she shook hands and hugged people. And you could tell when she did that it was real, not, people who just shake your hand, yeah, hug you. And, you're like, oh boy, I'm feeling nothing from that one.
Right.
So anyway, she was she was a Sagittarius rising. Okay. So, so it just didn't, she really didn't gel, but they needed her pedigree. That's what they wanted. And she was so young that she just went along with it because she didn't know, she didn't know. She didn't know. But as she got older, then all that stuff started to come out, because you can only hold it back for so long. So so I want to talk about, let's talk about, well, let's see where do we start here. Her we're going to talk about her Venus. All right. Actually, before I do her Venus, I want to talk about some other things that you can see here on the chart.
Okay.
And up in the upper right hand corner, it
Uh-huh.
says
Okay.
signs, modes, polarities. Okay. So elements, we know what the elements are: fire, earth, air, and water. Okay.
Right.
So she had, because what they do is they count up the planets to see how many you have. She had very little fire. Okay. Like she had passion, but she wasn't able to follow it. Okay. So you could see she had very little fire. She had a lot of earth. Okay. Which is,
Grounded.
people, my grounded, my kids. The most that she had a lot of air. So air is intelligence. So here's this intelligent, rebellious woman that is almost being put in a cage. So eventually, something had to happen there. And then she had 6 water, which is her emotion. But you could see there was like very little fire there. Polarities, I find this interesting. So masculine and feminine, she was both. She 11
It's
masculine
almost right in the middle.
12 feminine. So she could be either one, that she needed whatever she needed to be. She needed to be strong. She could be strong. If she needed to be courageous, she could do that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Your signs, your cardinal fixed mutable signs, your cardinal signs, they're like the strongest. Okay. So that would be, let me see, Aries, Cancer, Libra, anyway, I should know that. I'm sorry. My teachers can be very But anyway, so cardinal signs are just they're very tough. Okay. And she had 9 of them. So what a tough person she was. She had 8 fixed, and, fixed are, like, I'm not going to change. And then she had 6 mutable. So, she wasn't able to be that flexible. The
Okay.
mutable signs are very flexible. She wasn't able to do that. And then the angular, succeedent and cadent, again, that almost goes back to the cardinal and the fixed sign. So,
Okay.
yeah, so that was, like, she was almost at odds with everything, going on. So she was soft, but then she had to be hard, and then she had to, and I think emotionally, she just couldn't handle it. And I think in the end, she just
No,
Yeah.
Barbara, you know how you sent a chart to me and then you were like, oh wait, an updated one, this one? Was that
Right.
because it is a new moon today that it
the reason
No?
I did that, is that, and this is going to be confusing, but there's a different way of looking at charts. Okay.
Okay.
And this is called the Placidus. It's the Placidus. Okay, hold on. The Placidus. So the one I sent you the first time was a whole sign. See, if you look here, see all the little houses? The houses are not always the same size. Okay, they're different
Gotcha.
sizes, and that's
Okay.
the reason that is. And I didn't feel the first one I sent you, I didn't feel it represented to her because she's got a lot of stuff in her 8th house. She has what you call a stellium. A stellium is pretty rare. She's got a lot of rare stuff in her sign. It's very rare. It's when you have 3 or more signs in a certain house, it puts extra strength on that particular area of your life, which is called a house. So basically the houses, everything that you could imagine are cut up into 12 pieces of the pie. So the 8th house is the house of death, taboo, other people's money. It's sort of the most difficult house in astrology. It's like when I look at people's charts, I'm like, oh, please don't let there be a lot of stuff in the 8th house. So it's a little bit difficult. Okay, she's got Pluto and Mars there, and she's got Uranus there, which Uranus is like the big destroyer. It's like whatever you think is going to happen, it just blows up everything. And it's in her house of death. Yikes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so think about that. It's
Murdered.
death.
Mhm.
Okay? Yeah.
Ritualistically.
I think we need to talk about that, Mary. Like, what do you think happened? What do you see? But that's a whole another thing. So,
Yeah.
and then Pluto is up there. So it's very difficult. But I want to talk a little bit about Venus because she was in a loveless marriage from the beginning. He didn't want to marry her. He wanted Camilla. All right.
You want the horse. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So one of the first things we look at is the sun, the moon, the planets, the rising sun. Okay, what house is it in? Okay, that's good. I got that. That's easy, right? But now we have to look at aspects. Okay, so that means what are the planets? How are they affecting each other? And it's called aspects. So all those little things that you see in the beginning, in the middle there, all those lines going across, those are aspects showing, things. This is a square, this is a trine, so everything affects that. Okay, so actually, you know what? I'm going to get to Venus because I want to do the one in the middle. Okay, you're going to see a big green one in the middle. You see that big green triangle in the middle? That is extremely rare, and it is called a yod. A yod. Okay.
A yard?
A yod. Y-O-D. It's called a
Okay.
yard.
I gotta mow my yard.
Your yod. Okay. It's extremely rare, and
Wow.
it's they call it the finger of God. All right. It's called the finger of God. So if you've got a yod, it means that it's like really important. You've got some karma things that you have to work on.
Wow.
Okay. And
Well,
so
she definitely paid up.
yeah,
Paid
so
up.
her yod, and her yod, the point of the yod is Jupiter, which Jupiter is expansion. Okay, and then we have okay, what do we have? We have Mercury, which is communication. She was a great communicator, and Pluto, the planet that just blows everything up. Okay, so her karma with this yod was
Mhm.
to break tradition, basically
Mhm.
break that old stodgy
She did.
tradition, and she did it. She did it. Now, one thing that's sort of interesting. So again with the yod, her goal, her mission in life, or why she was here, is to break the ancestral karma and plant the seeds for the future, which she did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Which she did with her, her two children, like
Uh-huh.
and it looks like that. It looks like, William's going to be king quicker than we thought. I never thought I would even live to see him be king, but it looks like that's going to happen. And he's going to be, he's going to be an amazing king, because of her. And yeah, so that was sort of hers. Now, there was another note I made. Oh, this is people with yods. And by the way, Prince William has a yod, and I think Prince Harry has a yod too. So Prince William,
Wow.
that's a whole nother, I could spend a whole nother time on Prince William's chart. Okay, he's, but he's strong. So it says, yeah, people with yods, this is interesting. They often feel that they are on a unique and difficult journey in life, facing challenges that seem to defy easy resolution. Yes.
Huh.
Okay. However, once they recognize the lessons presented by the yod, they can tap into a profound sense of purpose and direction, which I think she did. I think she did tap into that. And I think she, that's what made her, like, that's why she, she left, and that wasn't easy. She left. Unfortunately, I believe she left with all of her secrets that they knew she was a loose cannon. And, I
So
think things were
do
going
you
to come.
do you think they knew that this, because of her birth chart or whatever, they already kind of like used her for that
You know
in a
what?
way? Do you?
It's possible, I mean, almost every ruler has astrology. So I don't know. You know what? I'm going to have
Yeah,
to
like some
I'm going to
foreshadowing
say
of some
yes to
sort.
that. I can't imagine somebody not having somebody check somebody's birth chart before they marry somebody important.
Mhm.
So, especially the monarchy. But then again, who knows? Maybe they didn't believe in that. But yeah, it's possible that that's another reason why they chose her. So anyway, she did. Man, she did it. That's all I can say. She did it. And then I just want to talk just real quickly about Venus, because I want to talk about, aspects. Okay. She's got some, if you look down here, it says nearest aspects. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to see a little, okay, this is a one that's unbelievable. She's got, if you look all the way on the left-hand side, down on the bottom, last one, you've got Uranus, the planet of like rebellion and up, total destruction. And, it's just blow up. Square Venus. Okay. So squares are not good. Squares are conflict. So Uranus in her 8th house of other people's monies and family legacy was square Venus. She didn't have poor thing had no chance. They just it wasn't happening. And I think she's got some other. She's got another Venus problem over here too, I think.
Wow.
So when you say like Venus, has a distinct energy, like kind of with the
like
moon and all that. Yeah.
right. So Venus is the goddess of love. We all know about Venus.
Right.
Venus is love. It's money. It's creativity. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Beauty. She's got Venus is also beautiful. She was glamorous.
Yeah.
And also goes back to her Jupiter in the 2nd house. She set the standard for clothing.
Yeah.
Oh, she did. She was a trendsetter. Now, I just want to not like Diana, but like as far as like it's a new moon today, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so what tell us what that means, like as far as like new moon, full moon, because like they say like or well during a full moon there's more
Right. Right.
so there is something to it. I'm just saying for new
Oh,
moon, and you were saying like there's something
well,
about this one that's
there's a lot to it. Okay.
Mhm,
There's a lot to it. Okay. So, we all know that the moon affects the tides. We know that, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
when
mhm,
full moon, the tide, full moons and new moons affect the tide. So if a full moon and a new moon, if the moon can affect the tides, what do you think it does to our body when
Right.
our body is 70% water?
Water.
Okay, so what do you think? I mean, yeah. So let's talk about before I get to the new moon, let's talk about the full moon because that's what everybody thinks about. That's what everyone knows about. They're like, oh no, there's a full moon tonight. If you go, I don't know if you have any friends or people that that work in the ER, they
mhm,
will tell you, they'll go, oh my God, it's a full moon. All right. And though the ER is more crowded, it's a fact, it's more crowded. And the reason why full moons are made to bring up stuff to be healed. So on full moon, people can be triggered by things from their past or
Mm-hmm.
anger, I'm mad at my mother, and I don't know, my
Yeah.
sister
so
stole
they
my shoes,
poke,
and
yeah.
she stole my shoes in third grade, and like, so yeah, so anyway, so it comes up to heal. So on the full moon, what you're supposed to do is basically, if you figure, if you have a cup, you're supposed to empty the cup, empty out the cup of all that stuff that doesn't serve you,
Mhm,
and give gratitude. Okay, you got to give gratitude. First of all, I'm glad
Yes.
it's gone, and second of all, I'm grateful that I had a chance to face my fears. You mentioned before, to face my fears and let them go. All right. So that's the full moon. Okay, now the new moon. So now after we've emptied the cup, we have an empty cup, right? We got an empty
mhm,
cup. So now we get the new moon. So we're going to fill that up with our intentions. We're going to fill that up with the stuff that we want. Okay.
mhm,
So, yeah. So when I teach my little classes and talk to clients, I tell them there's a whole ritual thing. And by the way, the whole thing's on my website. But yeah. So what you do is you're going to write intentions. You write like 10 or so intentions, and you write them down. Okay. And so now we've got a new moon in Taurus. All right. So a lot of people have heard about the law of attraction. So law of attraction says,
mhm,
if I think about it, like if I focus on it or whatever, thoughts become things, I can manifest it. Okay. But a lot of people will say, well, I've been doing that. It ain't happening. What's going on here? What am I doing wrong? What's going on? So what I say is that if you can correlate your intentions with the phase of the new moon,
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like law of attraction on supercharged law of attraction.
mhm.
Okay. So if you put that other one back up, put the other one back up that has all the houses on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, put that one back up because we could drop it. Okay. So let's look down here to just forget about the houses for now. We're just going to look down here in Taurus. Okay. So Taurus rules, among other things, money, work, incomes, daily routines, values, material possessions, habits, your job, that kind of thing. Now, if you wanted to lose weight, that's
Mm-hmm.
a good one for Taurus because it has, Taurus, they sort of overindulge. they, it's about pleasure, so they can overindulge. So that would be a good one. But so when you say your intentions, this is important. You don't want to say, I want to lose weight. I wish I lose weight. No, it's like my intention is I am going to, and be as specific as you can. I am going to lose 5 pounds by the end of the month. That's my intention. Okay. Job. like your job. So for instance, I've been wanting to do podcasts, and I've just been like lazy, and I haven't figured out how to do it, and no one helped me. But the universe was like, well, if you can't do it yourself, I'm going to help you. Here's Mary. Okay.
Yay.
So what would be great, so all of us that we're going to put our intentions out, you're going to put intention out here that, this podcast is going to have more people watching it than ever before. We're going to go way over on our person count. Money, income, your job, so Mary, or people who work with clients. Okay. People who work with clients.
Right.
Like, this would be a great time to say, I'm going to get at least 3 new clients this month, that kind of thing. Habits, if there's habits that you just want, I intend to quit smoking by the end of the month. Okay. So if you pick things that match cosmically with what's going on with the moon, it has more power. Okay. So what you might not want to do is it might not be a great time to like romance, it may not
Okay.
be a great time for
Unless
romance.
you're, like maybe
Right.
that, the
So-
oldest profession type, that might be,
Now, but let's see here. So now here's romance. See, romance Leo, where it says romance Leo, 5th house. So the time to do that, to intend romance would be new moon in Leo. Well, if we have a new moon in Taurus in 1, 2, 3 months, we're going to have a new moon in Leo. When you get your new moon in Leo, then you're going to intend things about romance, playing. I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to get I want to get a new haircut. I want to, you see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's really, and the way I started this, I ended up I went to a seminar with a lady named Yasmin Bowen. It was a weekend, I think, in New York City. And she was teaching me this concept. Okay. And I was like, I'll try it. What the heck? What have I got to lose? So at that point, I had lost my husband, and it was about three years. I didn't have a date, so I was like, okay, well, let's see, what did I have? I think I had, I think it was Leo. It was Leo. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to go crazy here. I said, I would like to have a date. All right. I would like a date. I intend to have a date by the end of the month. Well, I ended up with 2 dates. Okay. I had 2 dates, not 1 date, 2 dates. And one of the dates, I am still seeing the person 6.5 years later.
Woo!
Oh, wow.
Yay! So there you go. So, and each month, and I'm not going to go into each month, but each month I was doing this, and each month it was happening.
Right.
And so I said, well, no, wait a second. I gotta tell people about this. So I started doing this new manifest guide. So you guys, we had and there is a procedure, and again, it's on my website. But the best thing to do is you write your intentions, you read them out loud, and sometimes it's good to do it with other people. Like if you have a friend or something, say, hey, come over for new moon, we'll have some wine and we'll do our intentions, and then you like sort of burn them. You burn them and send them up to the universe.
Okay.
And then you give gratitude, and then you just sit back and wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's what I have to say about boom. Now, again, we don't have time for all of it, but there are other, like there's other phases of the moon. I won't go into that, but each one of those phases, after the full moon, then I believe it's the waning moon. So in other words, it gets smaller. And after the new moon, then it's the waxing moon. It gets bigger. Okay. So each one of those has, if you really want to get into it, each one of those has something attached to it. But most people, twice a month is enough.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's about emptying and then
Uh-huh.
filling up your cup. So
Emptying. Okay. Filling back up.
yeah, so that's sort of what I have to say about that.
Now, can you say it out loud, or do you have to write it down?
Okay, here's a good thing. Well, okay. I like you to write it, okay?
Okay.
Because when you write it, you're actually taking it's taking energy with the pen and the paper, it takes energy to write it, okay?
Okay.
Oh, and there's something else that's really important. This is really important. You have to be in a good space when you do it. Like, you can't be like, okay, I'm really
She'll imprint bad.
yeah, I'm really stressed
Okay.
out and I've got the podcast in another half hour and I know I have 15 minutes to write my intentions. Don't do that. And
Right.
to do it after, don't do it before, do it after the new moon. And it's okay, up to 24 hours. But the closer you can get to the new moon, the actual time, which today was 3:51 or something.
Yeah.
3:51. Yeah, the closer you could do that. So now you do that. And again, make sure it's positive. Like, you don't want to say,
Not rushed
I
and
don't
like
want to
just
run
flip
into
it.
nasty people today, because the universe hears nasty people and they think you want nasty people. So, you want to say,
Right.
I intend that only good, helpful people will come into my life this month.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's it. So now, and then what I do is, again, you're going to burn it. So maybe take a picture with your phone and you can print it out, put it in a book or whatever, so that you have a record, so you can go look back at the end of the month and say, oh, wow.
Mary, you could take a picture and see who else is around it. Just like
a picture and exactly a picture and see who else is around it.
Right.
So burn it, but be careful when you burn it. You can also, they say you can bury it, but that's sort of dirty and messy. But
Yeah.
you can burn it, but safely. You don't want to burn it on your carpet or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
But burn it
No more
safely.
fires. No more wildfires.
And then what you do is, once you burn it, then you thank just say thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you in advance for making these for granting these intentions. And then you just sort of, just let it. You just then you're finished. That's it. And then you try not to think about it again. Until the end of the month, but be cognizant of
so
it.
something to like, since it is a new moon now, like something to think about for next month, like, and kind of get that, like, so you think about it ahead of time, right?
Exactly. So, but you don't, but you really want to focus, like, we know what we want, so
Right.
like, you might want to think about it, but I want you to focus this month on this month's stuff. You can wait till right before next month. So next month, again, we'll have a new moon in Gemini, and that's about thinking, communication, your siblings. Okay, so for instance, let's say you're having a fight with one of your siblings, you're just not getting along, all right? And I really hate this, but I really, so that might be an intention for next month, that I intend to, I intend to, reestablish,
Communication.
with my sibling. Also writing, remember Gemini, writing, communication. So what a great month to be, blogging.
Yeah.
But sometimes we really don't feel like it. I'm like, no,
I know. God.
I'm not in the mood to do it. Okay. But you may be in the mood. If you intend with the intention in a Gemini new moon, then you may feel like doing it. Maybe, of course, you might not feel like doing it. Okay, like, let's say Pisces, ending, healing, closure, spirituality, karma, old age, what's hidden. You may not feel like writing when you've got when you're in a Pisces new moon.
Right.
So yes, you can. You can, using a chart, something like this, you can anticipate. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it works. Now, if you wanted to get married, if you were thinking about getting married, okay, new moon in Libra might be nice. New moon.
Now,
in
as far as like, I'm just wondering, do you notice other people that do, that have gifts, they use this as a tool, right? Like in a way, like, do you see
Yes.
that, like, so your percent, because if you have gifts or if you're aware, you're going to have a different, like, awareness than someone else doing it. So, like, it also might depend on, like you said, you're really good at finding out how people, like, what gets them.
Right.
You remember, yeah.
Right.
Do you want to share that a little bit? Just like how you can, like.
Yeah, so my specialty is sort of helping people find their way. So it's funny. I find I help lost people, and Mary helps lost people. So we both have a gift, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
She
Very.
finds lost people on the other side,
Right.
and I help lost people on this side. So
Pass them off to Mary.
Yeah.
They got there.
So you talk about how the same gift you use it, but so I'll do, and mostly I work with tarot. I work with tarot because I have developed a like a language. It's my language with the universe. So when I use the cards, like, I guess spirit, I'm going to say spirit talks to me through the images on the cards. And I do sometimes get people that go, oh, you use cards? And I'm like, yeah, I do. They're my tools. And they go, oh, like, make a face. And I say, and I got this from a really good friend, so I'm going to give her credit. She says to them, well, do you want a good reading? They go, yeah. And then she says, trust my process. All right. So whether or not, like, you're not going to ask Picasso to, like, draw in crayon. It's like, you're not going to do it. It's like, it's his medium. So, so it's, I have a lot of modalities. I can do a lot of things. And by the way, it's not only tarot cards. I have oracle cards. I have.
Oh, wow.
Now I have, I have probably 50 or more. Every time I go to a new place. This is the other thing that's great. And Mary, you probably can relate to this. So let's say you go to a new town. You've never been there before. You don't know anybody. I always say, where's the local metaphysical store? And I just go to the metaphysical store. I have friends, like, automatically I have friends. And another deck of tarot cards. Because whenever I go in, again, the universe, I go in, I go, well, if I'm supposed to buy something, just go. And then, there. So my most recent one is a tarot deck. I'll show you. My most recent one is, if you can see this, Zodiac Tarot. Whoa. Wow. That's awesome. So here I am combining Zodiac with Tarot. So here's so here's the Strength card, from the Zodiac Tarot. All right. And look, it tells you Leo.
So Leo?
Leo is the planet that rules the Strength card in the tarot. So makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So this deck is really good. Oh, and by the way, of course I did pull one for today, you guys. And you know what we got? What? We got the Ace of Pentacles. Whoa, that's like money. Ace of Pentacles is resources, money coming in from different
nice.
sources. So that's what we got. That's what we got today. So,
nice.
So that's great. And I actually don't need the cards. I actually don't. If I get into a situation where there are no cards, like Mary, when I went to talk to you, I didn't have cards with me. Okay. I don't need them, but they're like my friends. Like,
it's kind of like just an extension, right? Like, it's more like like you can do it in your head, but it's more of a visual or just a.
Well, I also like the cards because they are visual. So if somebody says, oh, I'm having a really bad day, and I turn over like the Five of Pentacles where the person's crying and they're like, all, then it's like it's right there, so they can't say, well, I already told you that I was having a bad day. You know, no, but you shuffle the cards. You shuffle the cards, and there it is. And it amazes me. Absolutely, I'm still flabbergasted about
Wow.
how things come up. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I'll just do a reading, and psychics will tell you this. You
Mm-hmm.
think you're making it up. You're like, okay, well, they're showing me this, and they're telling me that, and they're showing me this, and the person's like, yeah, that's right. And you know, so it took me a long time to realize I wasn't making it up. It
Yeah.
was
No,
real.
you're not.
I'm not
No.
making it up. So
No.
once you get to that, and then they also
Mhm.
teach you, just say it, no matter how stupid it is.
Say it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If they're
Say it.
showing,
The first thing, married. Yeah, you were like first thing that comes to mind.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Say it. Get it out.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I have a sort of funny story about that, or I think it's sort of funny, but just make it quick. So I was reading this woman, and she said, she says, you know what? She goes like, I think there was a ghost in my house. I'm like, okay. And she goes, yeah. She goes, the doors keep slamming, and the door slamming, and my shoes are flying all over the place. And I said, oh, okay. And she goes, can you help me? And I'm like, oh boy, you know, I don't know how you do that with tarot cards, but okay. But I didn't use my cards at that point. So I'm thinking, you know, they're showing me that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're married, yes. And I said, is your mother-in-law in spirit? She says, yes. And I said, I think it's her. I think it's
Yeah.
her. And she said, she goes, well, I'm having problems with and she must be mad at me because I'm having problems with my husband. I said, no, she's not mad at you because you're having problems with your husband. She's actually on your side. She knows that your husband's a pain in the butt, and she's trying to support you. So I tell her this, and you know, but then again, Mary talked about evidence. I'm like, I can't just say that. I have to have something.
Yeah.
So I say to spirit, look, you're gonna have to give me something. All right, you're gonna have to give me
A little
something.
more.
Okay, you gotta
Right.
give me something, because you know, like, how do I know? I'm not just making this up. So
Right.
in my head, she says lollipop, and I think, lollipop, that's what
Yeah.
you're giving me? You're giving me lollipop. Okay, fine. So I say to the woman, I said, okay, well, they're giving me lollipop. She goes, lollipop? I don't know anything about lollipop. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, okay, well, you know, again, don't shoot the messenger, right? Take it up with spirit. Okay.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know, there's lollipop. So I said, okay, fine. You know, so she leaves. So I get an email the next day. Well, the lady went home, and she told her sister-in-law about this reading. And it turns out that her mother-in-law was known as the lollipop lady, because she used to carry lollipops in her bag.
Wow.
She would
See?
leave them with you know, she would leave
Yeah.
them with the tip. She would leave the
Yep.
tip and a lollipop, and she became known as a lollipop lady. But the woman didn't know that.
Right.
The woman didn't
Yeah.
know that until she talked to her. So then that was your evidence. So it was a mother,
Yeah.
and then the woman felt better. So
So
that's
So some of the evidence, like, you know, when I saw you, some of the evidence that I had later on with some of the other people that came up during Spirit Fest was like, you know, they're like, well, what does she look like? And so part of my gift is I can describe them
yes,
to a
perfect.
T. So that's evidence, you know.
That is evidence.
Like one guy came, he's texted me, I'll be there in an hour and hold a spot for me. So I did. And he comes running up to my booth, but I'm looking behind him because everybody was carrying their chain of trauma with them as they were coming
Okay.
to my booth. I'm like, oh God, here comes like all these relatives with all of them and abusive ex-husbands. And so this guy comes running up, but he had all these dogs after him, running with him. And I'm like, you know, you got a lot of animals that came with you when you came here, right? And he just started crying. And I said, you have about 5 dogs sitting around you as you're sitting in this chair. There's 5 of them, but there's one that's leading all of them, and it's a red colored dog. What was her name? And her name was Abby. And then he goes, you know, I said, what do you do for a living? He goes, well, I just lost my job. I said, I want you to Look for something similar, and you know you will have the job when you see a U-Haul truck and a
Wow.
black fence, but the fence has got some spikes on it, like how
Mhm.
it comes up to a point.
Mhm.
Sure enough, the next day you sent me a photograph. I just got a new job,
Love
and
that.
look what it's next to. And there was the U-Haul truck and the black fence.
But
Like,
yeah,
One of those, you can't make this stuff up.
no,
right?
you
One of
can't.
those, you can't make this stuff up.
You can't. So we're
But-
at 10:30. So
Okay.
we got a word
well, like,
from our, yeah.
yep. Well, do we have enough time to do maybe like just get a brief thing on it? Can we go a little bit over and
Yeah.
then, or I
Sure.
was just wondering, like this can be a continuation, okay? Like we can
Yes,
pick
I
the
would love that.
conversation up, but something to kind of just tie in here. So, there, this is let's see. So this is like a cold case. So just like talking about different gifts or whatever. Canada seems to have a problem of missing women
Mhm.
and girls, and this person
About
here,
4,000 of them.
yeah, and this is in let's see, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Right, Saskatchewan. Okay.
Yeah. So do you when you see this, do you get anything, Barbara? Like without like just
Yeah, well,
reading.
yeah, the thing that I get from her,
Mhm.
or, you know, like it's almost like, and this is, I'm good with pictures. It's like you look in
Me too.
their eyes, and you say, "What are you trying to say?" And what I'm getting for her is, "I got to get out of town." That's what I'm getting from her. So I think
Mhm.
she knew
Uh-huh.
something, or she, you know, maybe somebody was making her do something that she didn't want to do. Maybe she saw something and she was supposed to cover it up, and she couldn't. You know, like she was having a problem, you know, like coming to terms with that. So I have to get out of town, and then and she's just missing. They don't. Again, I almost feel like somebody grabbed her or something, but the person that grabbed her was somebody that she knew. Maybe not someone that she knew really well, but she let them get close enough to grab her, and there was some screaming and kicking and stuff. And she,
Okay.
do you know
Not
anything about her? Because I feel like she's very strong, and I don't know if she was an
Mhm.
athlete of some kind, but I feel like she was an athlete, or you know, maybe a runner, or she played some kind of sports or something. She
Yeah. Runner.
wasn't a weak person.
No,
I know
she was.
she put up a fight.
I got, okay. So, of course, she turns around in horror and she sees this. I got two men, one standing behind the man that was facing her. And she saw something. She saw something, and that's why she had to leave town. I feel like maybe someone she knew got taken, or something happened to someone she knew, and she felt like she had to get out of town. But I saw he yanked her arm, like, "You're coming with me," pulled her arm, and it was pulling. And I feel like she fought. I do feel like she is not on this earthly plane anymore. And I do feel like it has to do a lot with other girls that are missing.
And do you want, I can show this, Mary, just because, oh well. I just as far as like
The moose did it.
yeah, well, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like got a little overwhelmed here.
Okay, so just that map with the circle on it.
Okay. I'm getting there. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so when I found out there were close to 4,000 women missing, I was talking to Jason earlier today. I'm going, okay, these are all indigenous. These are all Indians. These are all located in a certain area. And my thing is, the first thing Spirit showed me was a mass burial grave, massive, guys, like hundreds of people okay, just piled into a grave northwest of where Saskatchewan is.
That's
And
where the red teardrop thing. That's
yeah,
Saskatchewan, or that's
yeah,
the
northwest.
city. Yeah.
It's like they're just piled into a mass grave. Nobody goes there. And I felt like it was a corporation. I felt like it was a business that had to do with this, a corporate type of business. What kind of business operates or wants territorial lands that has, why? And I thought, okay, it's because women, they can't procreate if they're gone. Okay, so they'll die out. But I got trafficking. I also got corporations, like a corporate structure type of thing. And then come to find out, Jason did the research. You want to tell him what you found?
Well, I'll put up this. Yeah. Do you want me to put up the man first, or the corporate? Here, I can put this.
Put
Just
the man, yeah.
okay. Well,
There
this corporation just so happens to be based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and they are global providers of uranium fuel. So they have spots in Canada, I believe Sweden, and then also Russia and Australia. And Russia's the big one, but you can see the movement or whatever.
Mhm.
And then this is the sorry, let me just, so with this guy here is the CEO of this corporation. So
Barbara, what do you get when you see this man? Just generalities.
Yeah, general, like, again, I always look into the eyes. That's the
Me
first
too.
thing. Oh, okay. And when I look into his eyes, it's like there's nothing there. It's like the man has a black soul, or,
Mhm.
like, like,
Yeah.
like, how do I want to say, success at any cost,
Mhm.
I don't want to say he's a sociopath or anything, because I feel like, like if it comes to his family or whatever, but it's sort of success at any cost. And they obviously come from money, and I think he came from money, or I just feel like some kind of issue with, like, maybe his father or his family, or, in other words, you have to succeed. You're not
Mhm.
you're not a man
no,
unless you succeed, something like that.
I got lives don't matter. Lives
Lives
don't
don't
matter.
matter. Okay.
Lives don't matter. And when I look at this photo, guys, this is like a mental health campaign. His wife, I got severe depression, and then I got something with his daughter along the lines of some sort of mental unwellness.
so his last name is Gitze, Gitze, which is a Yiddish name variant of Getzel, which actually means unfaithful to God.
Whoa, really?
Jeez, I
Yeah.
would change my name.
Well, first of all, that's a heavy thing to be carrying around with you.
Oh
for
my
your last
God.
name.
He needs my spray.
Well, I think he needs a lot more. I think it's kind of one of those things, though, where
That
look at
explains
all
his
the soullessness, but then you
Right.
have all these missing people, and then you have a
Mhm. Major corporation that wants the indigenous lands because
these are the resources
rich, rich in uranium. Okay, and then what was it, Turtiscan, or what was the name of the place in Russia?
It's let me see. Yeah,
I did feel a Russian.
it's a southern Russian. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel that. I feel like some of the girls have been trafficked over there. 4,000 missing and killed. I feel like they've been trafficked over there. And There's also another company along the same lines as Camco in the same area doing the same thing. So there's a reason they want all the indigenous, all of the native tribal land, and it's for the uranium.
All right. And they seem to be doing this across the board. You know, they
Yeah.
get them
Yeah.
off the land and then.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like it. Spirit showed me mass burial grave, and then and these are bodies stacked on top of bodies, and then Spirit showed me it has to do with a corporate structure, and then I saw Spirit also showed me a lot of girls being overseas. A lot of these girls are overseas in Russia, so you got to follow that trail. How do you say it? To Uzbekistan, to Tajikistan, what?
Let me get. Yeah, it's like it's a stand.
That's
Hold
where
on.
they are. That's where a lot of them are. I feel like a lot of them are trafficked, used up, killed. Trafficked, used up, killed.
Well, this is a problem across the whole United States. You know, they're having
Yeah.
problems in the, you know, with the indigenous people, you know, the Indians here, you know.
Yeah.
in the
Right. Oh, I know.
So-
I know, especially with
Turkestan.
women.
Yep.
Yeah. What is it?
So hopefully,
Well,
I
there's
hope
two. They have two.
somebody
Sorry.
investigating this situation. Hopefully somebody.
Oh, I don't know if they're putting the pieces together because I think it's such a large corporation that I
They
want to
basically
say,
control Canada.
yeah. I mean, they make the, yeah,
They probably make the government work for them.
or yeah. It's like the globalist puppet, especially in Canada now.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But anyway, the corporation is Camco or CAMECO, and if you go there .com, it'll show all the. But that's just one, you know, like obviously not enough time to go too deep into it, but see here. But just something interesting. I don't know. Didn't mean to cut everything off. I know that. Oh well. Let's see. And then there's this guy.
Moose, murder moose.
Canadian
At
misogynistic murder moose.
Mhm.
That's the culprit.
Yeah, that's what they're saying it is. So I guess, you know. So yeah.
So okay, so anyway, that's my thought of what's happening to a lot of my cat scratched me. God, I just noticed that. Of what's happening to a lot of the women, that they're being trafficked, they're being killed, they're being shipped overseas. There's a mass grave up there in Canada, northwest, guys, northwest. You got to go, about how many miles is that? I don't know. To where I circled, I have no idea.
Well, it was just at the
5
very
miles.
northwest of the province of Saskatchewan. So I
Right.
mean, it's pretty. It's kind of barren up there. I mean, not a lot as far
Yeah.
as like population.
Right, it's barren, so nobody's going to go up there and look. So, and now we have a word from our sponsor.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to put up Barbara's website again, so everybody can go to Barbara's website. If you guys want a reading, you can contact Barbara. Barbara's website.
The Tarot Mistress. That's a great name.
The
Well,
Tarot Mistress.
Now I'm sort of like, now I do everything else, but this is how people know me, so that's why I'm sticking.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful having you, Barbara. I hope you'll be
Yeah, that
on some other segments of ours. That would be great. And then we have a couple of words from our sponsor.
We do. Bear with me. My slides loaded all mixed up, but we have this one. Well, of course, everyone can find
Okay.
Mary the Medium, her official website, marythemedium.com.
Right.
And then this is the pet show Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Yeah. There's
But
What
there's
was
my
that?
cat. Barbara, look at my cat with the afro.
Oh, no. And you know, I've had many, well, no, I'm not going to tell you about my animals because someday I might call into the pet medium to see if you
You
could.
should. You
I'll call
should.
you should, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
so and then we've got this.
My spiritual cleanser spray. And we
Oh,
have a
nice.
before and after. I'm telling you what, this is a proprietary blend. I have asthma, so does Jason. So I made it so that it wouldn't affect our asthmas. But Jason's got a before and after picture. I'm not kidding you. And at my booth, Barbara, at Spirit Fest, I always spray the clients afterwards, you know. And literally you can see their colors change. Do you have your picture, Jason? That you can get there, or is it not close? Or
It didn't. When I was redoing them, it wouldn't let me. That's when I told you, like, I was getting electronic glitchy stuff. It wasn't loading, and then I loaded all the slides, and there were a bunch missing.
right.
Yeah.
But
So
it literally it clears your energy field, which is
I
what a lot of
can-
people, because we carry all that around in our field. We carry around dead loved ones, the problems, you know, karmically bad crap. And so I created this spray to get rid of it, you know, at least while you're in my presence and maybe while you're at home too. Just when you
yeah,
spray,
go.
just crack a little window or crack a door just a tiny bit so spirit can go.
And just the main page, scroll all the way down, and you'll see the bottle.
Yeah, you can order it
Now
online.
you had that at Spirit Fest. You had a bunch of
Yeah.
them. I should have
Yeah.
gotten that next time.
Oh no, I'll send you one. Just text me your address. I'll send
Okay.
you one. Yeah. Yay. Well, thanks so
right.
much. Yeah.
All right. It was fun.
Oh, I enjoyed
Yes, thank
it. And I know I had a lot of questions from the audience about what does she see for me? What does she see for me? So they can go to the tarotmistress.com, guys.
Right.
And
they can email me. Also, it's Barbara at the tarotmistress.com. So if they want a reading, you know, they can text me. You know.
right.
I mean, they can, you know, email me. So
Yeah.
I haven't
Wonderful.
gotten my little scheduling thing up and running yet. So it's still, you know.
I just did after years. So
I know.
yeah.
But it's all, you know, it's all things, but things are starting to come together, you know, like you said,
Yeah.
you know, something changed, and just have to have that optimistic lookout. And
I sometimes, again, the universe steps in and gives you a kick.
yeah,
When I met Mary, it's like, oh, you want to be on a podcast? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
we're
oh,
gonna have you on again. So I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Well, there's so much other stuff that we could talk about. Like, I
Oh,
like
definitely.
one, like, you can't make this up. You can't make
Right.
this stuff up. I'm sure we all have stories where
Oh,
you can't make it up.
crazy.
You can't make it up.
No,
well, we
you
want
can't.
to thank everyone that showed up tonight, and anyone
Yeah.
that watches this, and we appreciate the likes. And Barbara, thanks again for talking,
Thank
and
you,
looking
Barbara.
forward
Thank you for
to
inviting me. I'm
yes. And yeah, we're everyone have a great rest of your, well, the weekend's over, but yeah, have a great week, and see
Yeah.
you possibly Tuesday for the pet show, and we will be back next Sunday
okay.
at
Sure
9:30.
will. Okay, guys.
All
All right, everyone.
Bye.
Stay on, Barbara. Just, yeah,
Bye.
okay.
Okay.
Bye.